Hello everyone, Carlos again for my weekly What's Up with Archaeology. This week we're going to talk about where we came from, or potentially where we came from. Okay, let me explain. I get contacted by people by Twitter because I'm a lazy cunt, and I do have YouTube, I do have Minds, I do have follow a lot of people on the Discord servers. I have Facebook, etc. But I spend most of my time on it's the lowest bandwidth with a social media shit thing that we have at the moment until someone gets something slightly about the same, you know what I mean, then I'll probably move it permanently. But for now I stay on Twitter, so I get most of my notifications of stuff there. And this week, about this weekend or so on, I got notifications of a couple of articles of a hominin, and a possible descendant of ours, from the eastern, well, let's say from Greece and Bulgaria. Let's be frank about where they come from. But as I always am on top of any archaeological developments, I knew already about it, and I'm preparing now my sort of response to it. It's a sort of response, but it's more of an explanation, because the article, which I'm going to show you now, the article, what I received. Let me just share the screen. That one, yep. And this is the article. I hope you can all see it. It's from the Telegraph and their science bit section. And it says, the title in all big letters: Europe was the birthplace of mankind, not Africa, scientists find. I have linked this article in the description. I won't be talking about this article because it's from the Telegraph. I don't read my science from mainstream media newspapers. I go to, for example, Psyorg. This is a purely scientific magazine, newspaper publication, right? It has the same article, but look at the title now. Scientists find 7.2 million year old pre-human remains in the Balkans. Let's get back to this one. So Europe has the birthplace of mankind. To contrasting, scientists find pre-human remains in the Balkans. So I'm going to discuss this article because it's more informative, and I like to inform people. I like to get people to read. All the articles which I will be mentioning, I will obviously be in the description, but I have this one. I even have the original one. Just so we get started, I have the actual study that this scientific publication is citing, and it's this one from the PLOS one. It's a research site, and this is the actual peer-reviewed article. It has everything you need to know here. So I also have this one in my description. It is technical. I've read it. It is beautiful. It is fantastic. And if you want to get into how all the nitty-gritty of archaeology and the scientific and the discovery of and the study of fossils, please read this article. This is the actual article. It is not the scientific publication newspaper. This is just interpreting, but this is good one. The Psyorg is very, very good. So let's get on to it. Let's start. We have here the jawbone of a 7.175 million year old Greicopithecus Freibergi, and this lower jaw was found in the Pyrgos from Pyrgos Vassilisis in Greece, which is in metropolitan Athens. You can have the scale here. It's 1 centimeter. Is this white bit here, where you can see the cursor, right? So let's get on with the article. Like I said, I have the Telegraph newspaper that basically probably interpreted this one, and this one is summarizing the actual study. So let's get on with it, because I can't stay too long. Tomorrow I got to get up at 6 o'clock, and it's going to be as quick as I can, but it's still in depth. Anyway, let's get on. I'm digressing. The common lineage of great apes and humans split several thousand years earlier than hitherto assumed, according to an international research team headed by Professor Madeleine Bohm from the Senckenberg Center of Human Evolution and Paleoenvironment of the University of Tübingen, and Professor Nikolai Spasov from the Bulgarian Academy of Science. These researchers investigated 2 fossils from Greikopithecus freibergi, with state-of-the-art methods that come to the conclusion that they belong to pre-humans, right? This is a fact. They are pre-human hominins. Now, their findings published today in 2 papers, the journal PLS01, which I've linked in the article, or will link if it's not there, further indicate that the split of the human lineage occurred in the East Mediterranean and not as usually assumed in Africa. Now, I'm going to stop sharing just for a second because I have to bring up a picture of our family tree, although more or less our common family tree. So I've already opened it. Let's bring that here, and let's see if we can. There we go. Back to screen sharing. We know that the Greikopithecus that we are talking about is 7.1, about 7.2 million years old. Now, we have here the hominin family tree from up until this picture was published. I'll try and zoom in a bit more. Right, oops, there we go. Here we go. We have the timeline of 7 million years ago, up until our modern time with Homo sapiens. Our time. Shit, this is crap. See if I can. Here we go. That's better. So the new fossil that's been found is before this, and before this we had a hominin, which is Sahelanthropus chadensis, which was found in Chad, and his lineage, which you can see from these dotted lines. Oh, am I not sharing? I apologize, people. I wasn't sharing. I think we are sharing now. Yes, we are. Technical difficulties, people. Sorry about that. Yes, I saw. I apologize. Technical difficulties. Anyway, as I'll repeat, you can see that this timeline starts at about 7 million years ago, and it then said us. So we see here many of our that fit into our hominid lineage. So we have up and before this timeline of Sahelanthropus chadensis, which is a hominin that was found in Chad. Oh God, I'm terrible at remembering some things. Let's see. Was found in about the 80s or 90s, if I'm not mistaken. And for now, his lineage came about from 7 million years ago. That's the range of that actual fossil. The new one which is Greco-Pithecus freibergi, is earlier than that. But get back to here. The lineage of this fossil would continue before that, but we've only found this fossil. And we have only found these two fossils of this superb hominin. That brings us to the conclusion that they basically the conclusion that our lineage split from the chimpanzee lineage earlier. That is what the article says. Now they say that it was in the Eastern Mediterranean and possibly not in Africa. That's our evidence. I can't dispute it. I don't have anything that says no, that's wrong. It was in Africa. No, this changes something, and it changes that hominins were also living in the Eastern Mediterranean at that time, the same time as in Africa. Let's get back to the article, and I'll continue to explain my reasoning. Present-day chimpanzees are humans' nearest living relatives. We know that. They are 95 on average, 95% genetically equal to us, or close to us, as that possibility. It's on average. Where the last chimp human ancestor lived in is central and highly debated issue in paleoanthropology. Of course, because we still need to find the split that what is commonly termed the transitional fossil, and we are searching. We found pre and post transitional fossils, but we haven't found the exact transitional fossil. Doesn't mean he's not there. That fossil is there, and the closest fossils, hominins we have for that is Greco-Pithecus and what's his name? Chadensis, Sahelanthropus. Be the transitional fossils, or the split, or after the split. Now let's go on. The researchers have assumed that up until now the lineages diverged about 5 to 7 million years ago. That's correct. Correct. That's still within what these fossils represent. And the first pre-humans developed in Africa. That's what has been known until now. So according to the 1994 theory of French paleoanthropologist Yves Coppens, I've read about him. I've read him. So a climate change in East Africa could have played a crucial role. Yes, it possibly did play a crucial role. The two studies, the research teams from Germany, Bulgaria, Greece, Canada, France, Australia now outline a new scenario for the beginning of human history. Well, the beginning of the split that later gave rise to us. But it's okay. I won't put that into any doubt. Now, the dental roots give new evidence. The team analyzed two known species of the fossil hominin. Should be hominid. Sorry, hominid. See, that's correct. Greco-Pithecus freibergi. Freiberg was the discoverer, and it was found in Greece, and it is a. Oh, sorry about that. Oh, what the hell? Sorry about that, people. Having technical difficulties here. as I was saying, ignore the crap that I've just placed. Oh God, I am a noob sometimes. Wait till you guys can see it. There we go. The fossil, as I was saying, is a hominid. He was discovered by Freiberg. I haven't a clue who he is, but it'll appear. I will research him better. He was found in Greece, therefore Greco, and Pithecus means hominid. It's the lower jaw from Greece and the upper premolar from Bulgaria. Using the computer tomography, they visualized the internal structure of the fossils and demonstrated that the roots of premolar are widely fused. Now that is very significant. It'll continue here, and you can see a picture of the fused tooth, how the roots of the teeth are. Now, the team analyzed, while great apes typically have 2 or 3 separate and diverging roots, the roots of Grecathepus converged and are partly fused, a feature that is characteristic of modern humans. Early humans and several pre-humans, including Ardipithecus and Australopithecus, had bone. So, the roots of the teeth of the molars, of the premolars, they follow the same pattern that led to the lineage which gave rise to the hominins and not the hominids. That is a characteristic that would probably lead the evolution of the teeth to what we have to us now. This is early stuff. This is really early research into these 2 fossils, the lower jaw and the teeth. If anything, just anything comes out of it, and they disprove that he's not the lineage, that he's just that the range of, for example, Sahelanthropus turgensis covered northern Africa, the Middle East, the Levant area, Israel, Turkey, Syria, goes into Eastern Europe. Even if they just discovered that, this is still significant because it is the evolution of our teeth, of how it possibly started the fused molars. So it's still significant. This is wonderful. When I first saw this article, I almost freaked out. And I read into it, and I'll show you a little bit. He says, currently the most basically summarizing stuff, and shows a map where each of the 8 million hominins are found. So it has a good map. You can see it, you can read it, but I like to actually get to the at least the scientific publications and the actual study, which is good reading. I like that. Now, the lower jaw, nicknamed El Greco. El Greco, just by the way, was a Greek-born painter who painted in Spain. He was, let's see, what was the period he covered? He was more or less the Renaissance type. So possibly that's a homage to that great painter of the Spanish court who was Greek. A bit of trivia that's coming up in my head. Sorry about that. Shit, hope my beer doesn't spill. No, it's okay. The lower jaw, nicknamed El Greco by the scientists, has additional dental root features, suggesting that the species Greco-Pithecus freibergi might belong to a pre-human lineage. Yep, can't argue with that. We were surprised by our results. Of course they were. I would be as well, as I am now, and as I was when I read these articles. As pre-humans were previously only known from sub-Saharan Africa. Joachim Fuss from Tübingen, a PhD student who conducted this part of the study. Furthermore, Greco-Pithecus is several hundred thousand years older than the oldest potential pre-human from Africa, the 6 to 7 million years ago, Sahelanthropus chadensis, which I just talked about, from Chad. That chadensis from Chad. So it's Sahel, where the desert where it was found. Anthropus, the hominid, and he's from Chad, so it's chadensis. That's how you break up these words. They're fucking awesome. Yeah, it is sort of Maleficus. It's a Chad type of thing. Now, the research dated the sedimentary sequences of Greco-Pithecus fossil sites in Greece and Bulgaria with physical methods. They got a nearly physical methods would be they got some of the I've talked about in a previous What's Up with Archaeology of how a fossil is made. The material that the fossil is embedded in is called the matrix, and they analyzed the actual matrix. I got some of the samples, and they passed it through a they had uranium lead dating, thermoluminescence, and a couple of other dating methods that are not carbon 14 radiocarbon dating, because radiocarbon dating is only accurate up to maximums we can stretch it to 70,000 years. But anyway, this part, what it says here, really interesting, and I'll tell you why. It says the 7.24 and 7.175 million years ago, it is at the beginning of the Messinian, an age that ends with the complete desiccation of the Mediterranean Sea. What happened then? Here we go. It was the Messinian event. It is a large stage, and as a Lago Mare event, and the geological event during which the Mediterranean Sea. You guys know how the Mediterranean Sea is. You have the Gibraltar and Morocco with the Atlantic and Mediterranean mix or drain each other out. Now, that period of time, which is between the 7.7 and a bit million years ago, 5.96 to 3, about this period. It was about the 7 to about 5.5 million years ago, round number. The Mediterranean in the western bit, Morocco and Gibraltar, it was joined, the landmass. So there was a lake, and the only water coming into it were the rivers of Africa and Europe. So it had fluctuations of it drying out, and this is what the Messinian event is, named after Messina from Sicily, where they found the dated deposits of crystalline salt there, basically. And it ended at 5.33 million years ago with a Zanclean flood when the Atlantic rushed in and reclaimed the basin. So this period, this is significant. I'll tell you my interpretation of it. It is not my opinion, it's my interpretation of it. So we had, and they even go on to talk about it. We'll read it. Professor David Biggin of the University of Toronto, paleoanthropologist and co-author of this study, says this dating allows us to move the human chimpanzee split into the Mediterranean area. Yes, we can. The environmental changes. As an out of East African theory, the evolution of prehumans may have been driven by dramatic environmental changes. We can see that by the drying and periodical filling of the Mediterranean lake at the moment. It wasn't the sea, it was a lake at this period of time. The team led by Bohm demonstrated that the North African Sahara Desert originated no more than 7 million years ago. So 7 million years ago, when Chadensis and Grecopithecus were there on Earth, there was a huge was different from what it is now. The Sahara Desert hadn't been around because of the lake that the Mediterranean Ocean would have pushed that band of desiccation more or less north on top of the Mediterranean and into southern Europe, southeastern Europe, where it would have been savanna. And it says it here. Although geographically distant from the Sahara, the red-colored silts are very fine-grained, could be classified as desert sand. The analysis of uranium, thorium, lead isotopes of individual dust particles yielded at age between 0.6 million and 3 billion years, and infers the origin of North Africa. Of course, 0.6 and 3 billion years, 600 million. Whatever. Shit numbers sometimes. Moreover, the dust sediments were high content of different salts. These data document the first time the spreading of the Sahara 7.2 million years ago. So up until about 7.2 million years ago, Sahara was not a Sahara. Sahara would have been trees and more or less like the sub-Saharan area would have had trees. Wouldn't have had tropical jungles, but it would have possibly had lots of trees, forests, and etc. It is more moist, and we know from the Sahara, from satellite images, that Sahara had lakes and rivers that have dried up since, and from that time. And the salt dusts were north of the coast of the Mediterranean Sea in this form. The Tübinger researchers said the process is also observable today, of course, because we receive salt from sand from the North Africa. But the researchers further show that the contemporary to the development in the Sahara of the North Africa, the savanna biome formed in Europe. This is like slightly south of the Saharan desert, the Sahel belt, and East Africa. So at that time, while the Sahara was beginning to become a desert, and the Mediterranean was a lake and drying out occasionally in a cycle, I'll answer that question, Maleficus, as soon as I get through this, man. I promise. But it's basically inferred here. The savanna biome formed in Europe using the new methodology, the studies of microscopic fragments of charcoal and plant silicates particles such as phytoliths. Many of the phytoliths identified derived from grasses, and particularly from those used in the metabolic pathway of C4 photosynthesis, which is common today in tropical grasslands and savannas. So this is how they figured out that southeastern Mediterranean was a savanna, much like the Sahel and East Africa is. I don't know about Sahara meaning savanna in ancient languages. I don't know that, man. Malefice 999. But it shows that these savannas have been shown from other hominins, basically Australopithecus, Chadensis, Tugensis, the Ramidus, the Pithecus Ramidus, I think it's up until basically Homo habilis, which then developed, and then Homo erectus. They all lived in savanna and semi-treeless or areas. So it is revolutionizing archaeology now and our history, because we reconstructed the savannas which fits with giraffes, gazelles, antelopes, rhinoceros were found together with Grecopithecus and the carnivores that ate those animals. Now, this will answer your question, Malefice. The incipient formation of the desert in North Africa more than 7 million years ago, and the spread of savannas in southern Europe may have played a central role in the splitting of humans and chimpanzees lineage, Bohm says. She calls this hypothesis the North Side story. Yeah, she likes theatricals, North Side Story. That's a film. But it was East Side Story, not North, but you know what I mean. Recalling the thesis of Yves Coppin known as the East Side Story. But the other one, the movie is West Side Story. So I got this right. Now, anyway, the findings are described in 2 studies, which I have linked, and basically wraps this up. What does I'll just try and do my interpretation. It's not my opinion. It's what I get from this and from reading what is there. We know, what do we know? We know about 7 million years ago there lived some hominins that showed characteristics that were not of the lineage that led to the chimpanzees or the pan. Common chimpanzees, the chimpanzee is the pan troglodytes, and the bonobo is pangialis or something. I'm shit at names, but just look them up. It's easy to look up. There was the split between our lineage, the hominins, and the hominids, which are the great apes. Even though we belong to a great ape, we're distinguished by being hominin instead of hominids. Up until now, we thought the split would have been in Africa, East Africa, where we know the chimpanzees live, and we know that the our oldest lineage of basically all our ancestors lived. This throws a slight spanner into work because it just shows that we need to look further. We are finding fossils that break that small. It's not. It's not a. It just reinforces. It doesn't contradict many unscientific-minded people, which you can lump in anyone you want, will see this as a "I told you so. You have just proven our theory" type thing, whatever. Whatever. No, it's not. This only reinforces evolution. Evolution is it's a mechanism that it's along as well as being a fact. It's a mechanism that explains beautifully and simply all the diversity of life on Earth, from the most humble one-celled bacteria. Even further, we can go into RNA, and which are viruses. They are also part of. They are evolving, so they are also part of evolution. To us, this discovery is just awesome. When I first read the title of the Telegraph, mankind was birthplaced in Europe. No, it just says this title is wrong. In fact, what it has here is a beautiful. I only noticed it now. Has the upper jaw from Greece, the tooth from Bulgaria, and a reconstruction, more or less, what could have been Greece or Bulgaria, how it possibly looked 7.2 million years ago. And just reinforces that we have just been stuck in trying to find the fossils in relatively small places, and we are now discovering other methods, places which will expand our search. I've talked about Denisovians, up until 5 years ago, an unknown race of humans. We knew about Neanderthal, right? The Neanderthal human race. We are the Homo sapiens race, human race. We have now a third one, and I've repeated this almost in every stream, that there's a fourth human race that we only know from the DNA DNA sequence material evidence from the Andaman Islanders. So this is exciting. We are living in exciting times. Pity the world's going to shit, because we are actually finding awesome finds in that. And this is nice. I've saved this photograph because it's just beautiful. The photograph, now this painting, this drawing, it shows a mammoth in the background, giraffes, rhino, not zebras, but at this time they would have, they were zebras and ancestors of horses and so on. More like the ancestors of the horse. A couple of gazelles, and they were vegetarian, like all hominins up until Australopithecus africanus and Australopithecus afarensis. They were the first that actually ate meat, and I've said that before as well. Okay, let's see. I'll see some of the people questions. I'll start off with BJ Price. Do you have any guess? Says who the fourth DNA is? Absolutely none, BJ Price. We don't know. We only know the DNA sequence is 4% that only account for that. So 4% of the DNA of the Andaman Islands are an unknown hominin, an unknown ancestor, an unknown human race. Because different races of the same species can mate. They are subspecies of the species. We are Homo sapiens sapiens. We are the subspecies of Homo sapiens. Neanderthals are Homo sapiens neanderthalensis. They are Homo snowflakes. Awesome, Mudwayne. That is pure awesomeness. That's about just 0.5% less than I have my Neanderthal DNA. I'm below the maximum by 0.5%. The maximum of Europeans is up to 4%. Mine is 3.5%. So I'm proud of that. Means I don't. They made a study. They were published a study that maybe Neanderthal gave us schizophrenia and a few other maladies, but no, they gave us immunization to certain diseases. So that's why I'm fucking invincible. No, I'm not. I'm just joking. But when I first opened up Twitter, because I follow on Twitter a couple of publications, archaeological, anthropological, and so on. And when I first saw that title from the Telegraph, and I said, humans in Europe, that rang a bell. Next thing you know, he'll be saying, yeah, why not, BJ Price? I'm proud of arthritis. So I'm beginning to develop it, but what the fuck? I'll have curved fingers. I'll look like the Wicked Witch of the West or something. Yes, you are, Modwan. You are. This article, just get back to serious, Modwan made a great point there. This article does make it a game changer. Just from the searching point of view, if anything, if they dismiss everything that I just said, that they are the lineage of direct descendants of us, or we are the direct descendants of them, they dismiss that. They find that nope, he may have been more instead of bipedal, he could have been more like the chimpanzees. If they find that out, when they find more, but we still see the evolution, like I said, of our teeth, for example, the fused roots. For that, it is awesome. It is significant. It's like discovering an unopened pharaoh tomb. It's exactly the same thing. He could have 98% of the same shit that the one that they found in another site, but that small 1% or 5% or whatever is the significant thing. It's the game changer. It expands where we have to look. It expands how we look at things on Earth. We were just tied up. No, Africa is the cradle of everything. And now we can say no. We have apes, great apes, that may have lived on both sides of the Mediterranean, which at that time was drying and drying up and filling up slightly. It wouldn't have been because is so deep. It would have been more like the Dead Sea and the Death Valleys. Who anyone sees it, it'd be very, very hot, so not very hospitable. But it would be slight barrier, but not total barrier, because you could skip around the edges of the Mediterranean. So the range that these hominids covered is now expanded. We are not limited to one slight place. On the funny side of this, we can now throw this news to Kodzi and Cat Black and all those fucking racist cunts who was Kangs, and say, nope, you came from us. I'm joking. This is a joke that someone has to say ironically to them, because it'll just blow their minds, and they'll say, no. You see what I mean? I'm not being serious. We may have not descended from the lineage that Greco-Pithecus continued, but it's fucking just to fuck them up. It's just priceless. So I'm almost done. I don't think I have anything else to do except that I'm an announcement to make, because every humongous YouTuber from Sargon to Matthias to Andy Worski to Bering and all that are making hangouts at this time on Tuesdays. I'm going to move my streams to Monday. It appears to be more low participant of the higher, at least the ones I follow anyway. And I think I'll move it to then. So next week it'll be Monday. Let's see how it goes. Oh, exactly, Carlos David. Yes, it is not asserted. It is not a fact. It's just stated. Basically, the evidence we have now is a majority of our lineage did originate in Africa. Neanderthals had their ancestors in Africa that are shown the oldest. It's basically we're finding the oldest of the fossils that represent each species. So if we find an older species of the same, an older example fossil of the same species in another place, then of course we'll have to reevaluate, like this has been reevaluated. So yes. That's good to know, Warp. So I think I'm going to try Monday next week. So yeah, see how it goes. If it does work out, I'll do it on Mondays. Anyway, most of the good stuff is released on the Saturdays and Sundays. So I usually have to wait a day or two before I do my stream to get, and then it's So I think I'll end it here. And thanks for turning up, guys. I hope you were at least not entertained, because I'm not a very entertaining person, but at least and I think my information was accurate enough. I think I have all this. I'll just add two more. Just add the other two, except the picture of the hominid, our timeline, our family tree. I won't add that to the description, but I'll add the Wikipedia the article on the Messina salinity crisis, which is app description. We don't need to be too. It's a good enough a description to know what it is. So, yeah, guys, thanks for coming on, and cheers.